You are watching Toon Matrix. Please watch previous videos for better understanding. In the last part we saw that Paume and Debo were in dungeon fighting the Stumps, and Debo was shocked upon seeing how powerful Paume is. After defeating the horde of Stumps, Debo says he is finished collecting the mana stones. Paume says time to go. They continue to go deeper in the dungeon. Debo self-talks that I thought he was just crazy, but he is incredibly talented. With a greedy face he says, if he is with Paume, he can make a lot of money and save some expenses for living. They encounter another group of Stumps. Debo hides and counts that there are 8 to 9 monsters. Paume replies it's a perfect number. Debo seems to be confused by Paume's word and tries to ask him, but Paume just blankly stares at Debo. In the next panel we see that a Stump is distracted by a falling stone, and at the same moment Debo ambushes the monster from above, killing it in a single strike. The other monsters rushes at Debo to attack him. Debo curses as he have to fight the monsters with a weapon he has never used before. Debo counterattacks while calling his boss crazy. Paume, while watching Debo fight, says it's obvious that he is not used to the weapon, but soon he will realize that the polearm is the weapon that'll make him strongest. There is no need to doubt his talent, since he was picked by Aaron to be her student. A Stump flies at Debo, but he chops him in half. He is surprised because the longer he fights, the more comfortable it feels. Now he smoothly begins to chop the Stumps in half, one after another like a killing machine. Paume says he already got the hang of it. He hasn't awakened a circle yet, but already is this good. Debo then feels the ground shaking and wonders if it's an earthquake. We see the cliff shattering, and a giant Stump's arm comes out. Debo dodges the attack. Debo is shocked at the sight of the monster, and we see a giant monster called Stumpy. It goes for another attack, but Paume quickly moves Debo out of the way, then throws him onto the ground. Paume says that the monster's size doesn't matter. If anything, it gets easier to hit, and he casts a fire arrow. Debo smiles, saying magic can work, but the Stumpy blocks the attack using its branches. Paume says it's faster than he thought, then using the telekinesis ring casts another fire arrow. It moves around the Stumpy and flies towards its blind spot, but to their surprise it gets blocked. Paume is surprised as he blocked that attack too. They start to run away from the Stumpy, as magic isn't working either. Paume says if attacks didn't work, then the monster had not blocked them. The problem are the branches. The monster's attack launches them into air, and it prepares for a follow-up. Paume activates his ring and pulls the ground up below them. They escape the monster's attack by surfing on the ground. Debo coughs and says thanks for saving him, but Paume cuts him off and asks him to take on the horde of the Stumps, and he himself will take on the Stumpy. He leaps off towards the Stumpy, while casting another fire arrow, and launches it at the monster. Debo self-talks that Stumpy is not a monster they can beat without a plan, so they have to run for it. As Debo thought, the Stumpy blocks the attack, but we see that another fire arrow grazed the Stumpy. Debo is surprised by the attack. Paume prepares for a follow-up. He says the branches move faster than he thought, so it's impossible to use telekinesis to evade them and attack through the gaps at the same time. But since he is a second circle now, he can conjure magic twice. Then a fire arrow blows away some of the part of the Stumpy. Debo smiles and says it's incredible to hide another fire arrow behind the first one. It's very smart. And now the boss is helpless to those attacks. He says Paume is more of a monster than Debo thought. While Debo was lost in his thought, few of the Stumps get past him, and they tries to attack Paume. Debo shouts to look out for them. Paume uses the fire arrow with telekinetic power and kills all of the Stumps. Paume with a disappointed look asks Debo if he can't handle the little ones. The Stumpy laughs and takes this chance to attack him. Paume, being alert, dodges the attack by leaping backward into the air. Stumpy prepares for a follow-up, and as it was about to hit him, Debo pushes him down and cuts the branches off. He says that he just saved Paume, so Paume should take back about how he just blamed him. Paume smiles a little and says that now Debo finally seems useful, and he unleashed 2 fire arrows simultaneously. They both decide to attack the Stumpy together. While Debo runs up to the Stumpy, Paume launches both the fire arrow, hitting the first one and causing one off the branch to blow away. The second arrow swiftly followed, prompting the Stumpy to block it using its branch. Anticipating Stumpy's movements, Debo intercepted, leaping high and cutting the branch before it can deflect the fire arrow. Paume uses telekinesis to control the arrow directly hitting at the Stumpy. As Debo was suspended in midair, Stumpy tries to attack him from both sides. While casting fire arrow, Paume says that he will take care of the right branch. Debo laughs and says then he will take the left one. Their coordinated attack successfully pulls through. Debo didn't pause, he leaped off at the Stumpy, cutting off the other branches. Then one of the branches hits him in the gut, and he coughs up blood. As Debo was about to be eaten by the Stumpy, Paume made a rock fly towards him, rescuing Debo from the Stumpy. But the Stumpy attacks at the rock, breaking it into pieces. Paume says that it's getting troublesome and he uses telekinesis to fly several rocks at once. Debo lands on one of the rock, but Stumpy continues on attacking him. Debo grits his teeth as he does not seem to get away. He jumps off from one rock to another to dodge the Stumpy's attack. Paume uses the fire arrow to distract the Stumpy, using this as a chance. Debo comes flying from behind, hitting the Stumpy in the eye. It starts screeching with pain and starts shaking vigorously. Debo's grip got loose from the pole arm and he lands on one of the cliff. Debo with a determined look says it's not over and leaps off at the monster. Using his telekinesis, Paume pulls out the polearm from Stumpy's eye and delivers it to Debo. Debo with a fierce look says open up customer, it's time for dinner, and then he vertically struck the polearm into Stumpy's another eye, causing it to scream in agony. As its body thrashed, Debo lands on the ground. Stumpy tries to attack Debo, but from the back two fire arrow came flying and directly enters the Stumpy's mouth, hitting directly at its core, causing Stumpy to get toasted. As Debo witnessed the Stumpy get burned, Paume approaches him and says nice work. Debo while panting replies you too. Both stood by witnessing Stumpy get devoured by the flames. The scene shifts to night time. In a small house, a girl sat eating alone at the dining table. She starts to pray before eating the food, and suddenly she hears a knock on the door. She went to open it, asking who is there. However, she gets stunned upon seeing the person. We see Debo standing with a smile on his face and his body covered in blood. She tries to confirm if it's really her brother. When Debo says I'm back, her hands trembles and tears starts coming out of her eyes. She embraced Debo in her arms, welcoming him back home. The panel changes and we are shown a house in midst of forested area. Paume appeared before a relative in the room, however the body showed the signs of decay. It seems that the person had taken their last breath on the bed. It is revealed that it was none other than his father who had passed away. He gazed down at the body for a while, sadness evident on his face. Then he uses fire, burning everything to give off his final rites to his father, along with the home he had lived since birth. He walks away from the burning house, leaving his entire past behind and heading towards the future. The scene shifts to Abby sitting in his office, reading the documents on the upcoming 100-man gate. He wonders how should he organize this as Sir Rakan will be in charge of things this time, and if he makes a mistake it's going to be an issue. All the 10 major merchant unions will be focusing on clearing the gate. Epic or higher grade item is guaranteed in an 100-man gate. There could be a possibility of a legendary item too. However, given the circumstances it won't be easy, because the 3 Natasha sisters of the Goldrich Merchant Union are so powerful that it's hard to believe they are only 2 circle adventurers. It's to the point that the Gaffer Merchant Union's 2 circle adventurers cannot even be considered for comparison. If you were to break it down, not only the Goldrich Merchant Union but all the adventurers sent by the 10 major merchant union are cream of the crop. Our Gaffer Merchant Union is clearly outclassed by them all. While looking at Paume's file, Abby says he feels a bit hesitant. Suddenly, the office's door swung open abruptly. Abby asks who dares to open without knocking, but he gets shocked upon seeing the person. Upon seeing that it's none other than Sir Rakan, he almost had a heart attack. Mr. Rakan asks if Abby's has prepared the list of parties who are going to clear the gate. Abby's apologizes and says it's not. Rakan interrupted and says that it's unlike of him to be late. Then he asks what does Abby's think about the young friend from that time. Abby's responded that Paume has some room for consideration. He says that Paume is talented, but they have no way of knowing what had happened because last time, whole of the Chev's party was wiped out, and that is why he is skeptical about him. Hearing this, Rakan sighs, saying you and your skeptical nature. Then he asks how about you test him again. There just happens to be a good place, a place to test him. At the end he adds that Abby should gather all of the parties that he was considering. With a cunning smile on his face, Rakan says that there will be many witnesses this time. The scene shifts, and we see that Paume and Debo are in front of a red gate entrance, along with many other peoples. Debo exclaims and says, "It's look like there are many people going this time." A man approaches Paume and asks if they are the 5th party. Looking at Paume's party, the man with a disdainful expression says, "Two people with a slave background." Paume coldly ignores the man, thinking to himself that they are not obviously welcoming. Are they trying to say that slaves will just get in the way? I guess it's just normal for experienced adventurer to think that way. And by the looks of it, they are around 1 to 2 circle only. They are different from Chev's party. They are real pros who don't need any baits. At this moment, Abby suddenly appears and addresses everyone, saying everyone's here. He says, "I'll keep it short and will proceed with the test now. I will give a chance to those who show their abilities." The red headband man asks about the chance that Abby's is talking about. Abby smirked and says, "That's right, a chance to clear the 100-man gate." Everyone present got surprised by this information. Paume remained calm, pondering that's how Abby's is gonna play it. Then Abby's sends them off into the dungeon after giving them good luck. After entering the gate, they exclaim as the terrain is forest again. The man with red headband suggests that they only gather for the boss hunt and asks if it's fine with everyone. Everyone agrees, and they split up in smaller groups, going in different directions. However, it seems like Paume and Debo were not invited into any group, and Debo felt a little dejected. One of the group was led by a magician named Dolan. He declares that they will kill everything in their path, since they don't have much time, and the group agrees to it. Suddenly a monster catches Dolan's attention. He complained that it was only one monster, and uses the magic, casting energy bolt striking directly at the monster. With a boring expression, he asks his party to pick up the mana stone so that they can move quickly. After the smoke gets cleared, it is revealed that the monster is not dead. Dolan gets shocked upon seeing this, and wonders if the monster is sturdy enough to withstand his magic. Then he notices something and alerts the rest of the party members. We see that they are surrounded by dozens of mushroom-like monsters. After a long and relentless battle with the monsters, Dolan's group was able to kill all of them. They were panting heavily due to the long battle. Then one of the party members asks Dolan that the monsters are sturdier than they imagined, and asks what should they do now. Dolan anxiously says that winning with kill count is impossible now, because at this rate they will run out of the stamina before they can do anything. He made a change in his plans, and orders everyone that they will break the alliance and go for the boss hunt. Paume already guessed that all the groups will go for the boss directly, and calmly explains Debo that's what they are thinking. But unlike Paume, Debo was heavily exhausted due to the battle with monsters. He remarks, "That's most likely the case, but forget that." He asks why is Paume just standing there without helping him out. Paume coldly replies that they were only 3 monsters, so he should be able to take care of it. Debo feels little uneasy, then he asks if Paume is trying to say that they don't have time to waste like this. Paume replies, "Yeah, let's go." Then both spoke simultaneously. Debo with determination says to kill the boss monster, while Paume says something completely different, to wipe out all the trash mobs. Debo, puzzled, asks didn't he just say that he'll go for the boss? Paume replies, "I said what others are probably thinking. We'll just go with the numbers." Killing the boss monster isn't the only way to get a good score. The way you deal with trash is also important. Besides, the boss is dangerous and the competition will be fierce. And we don't know what trick other teams might pull. Debo, while acting childish, thinks to himself that Paume always talks like he knows everything. Paume then added that he can sense something perilous about this gate. Returning to Dolan's group, a woman points at something, asking Sir Dolan to take a look at it. Dolan observes and then replies that it's an escape gate, and says that it's good that they already encountered it. He gives instruction to leave marking from here on out. Meanwhile, one member of group started laughing uncontrollably. Dolan worriedly asks, what's wrong with him, calling by his name Avant. He says that he is too loud. But he continued laughing. Dolan, annoyed, grabs him by shoulder and says that he will attract the surrounding monsters. Upon seeing Avant's creepy face, Dolan gets shocked, not knowing what was happening. Suddenly the surroundings get filled with purplish smoke, and then everyone starts laughing uncontrollably. Dolan came to a conclusion that it's poisonous gas. He says he have to get out of here even if he is the only one to escape, and quickly starts to run out of that area. Suddenly a huge mushroom-like monster appeared, laughing creepily, and he stood behind Dolan, while all of his holes were releasing the poisonous gas that induced laughter. The dense gas seemed unbearable for Dolan. He succumbs to the poisonous gas, and he also started laughing like crazy while looking at the monster. The panel shifts, and they are traversing through a river flowing between the tall cliffs. Debo, annoyed, says to himself that Paume didn't even fight once since they entered the gate. Then he notices something up in the sky, and both of them looks up confirming that it's a signal flare. After a while they arrive at a place where rest of the parties are gathered. Debo excitedly says that they are supposed to send a signal flare if they were to find Boss Mob, but them actually doing it is really surprising. Paume looks around and notices that one party is missing. The man with red headband says that since everyone is here, he'll start explaining. A purple-haired lady interrupts, saying that Magician Dolan's party is missing. Ignoring her, the man continues the explanation. He says that they have found the boss monster, and when they did, they also witnessed Dolan's party getting completely wiped out by that very same boss mob, called the Mad Poisonous Mushroom. Let's call him Matty. The lady gets shocked upon knowing who the boss mob is, and says that they are in trouble, because they are in no condition to face the Matty. People, while freaking out, start to chatter among themselves, saying that they might have to give up on hunting the boss and find an escape gate first. Debo, puzzled, asks Paume if the Matty is that much dangerous. Ignoring Debo's question, Paume sinks into his own thoughts. He thinks that Matty is the worst type of boss to run into at their current level. While Paume is strategizing how to counter the monster, Debo continues to call out to him, and gets annoyed because Paume is ignoring him. The red headband man tells everyone that Matty is in the way of escape gate, and it's impossible to escape without facing it. Debo proudly says that Matty is nothing, with just one fire arrow his boss can. Paume interrupts Debo and coldly asks him to shut up. Debo gets annoyed at Paume's cold behavior and curses him. Paume says that they will die if they face Matty without any plans, and his fire arrow wouldn't even scathe it. Debo gets shocked upon hearing this and questions the reason. Paume replies that even the regular mobs in this gate are sturdy and all tanky, so it's a given that the Matty is as well. The red headband man sighs and says that Paume is stating something obvious. A man calls him Iburu and says that this is not the time for that. They need to figure out a way. Paume raises his hand and says 50,000 mesos. Iburu, confused, asks about what Paume is saying. Paume explains that 50,000 per person, and since there are 30 people they have to pay 1.5 million mesos. If they do that, Paume declares that he and Debo will act as a bait for them. Debo is surprised upon Paume's declaration. Upon hearing Paume's proposition there is silence for a moment, and then Debo frustratingly pulls out his hair, cursing Debo in his mind for such a proposition. Iburu, seemingly angry, shouts and says that they must still be used to their slave tactics, but things are not same every time. Matty is not a boss to get baited so easily. If they were to go along what Paume said, and Paume and Debo fail to bait the boss, they will all die along with them. He points at Debo and shouts that putting Paume aside, Debo looks like he hasn't even awakened yet. What can they do with a two-circle adventurer and a slave? Debo, visibly angry, curses them in his mind and says that they are trying to pick a fight since earlier. Paume remains calm and asks if he have a better plan. Iburu get flustered and was not able to answer. Paume says you don't have a plan, right, and if you had one, then you wouldn't have fired the signal flare. Also, let me clear something up. He says that his party consists of 1 2-circle and 1 1-circle. Debo was surprised and looks at his hand, finding out that he is now a 1-circle adventurer. His reaction was like, Paume says that Iburu's party have only 1 or 2 2-circle adventurers, right? Iburu hesitates to answer. Then the purple-haired woman interrupts, asking Paume to wait. She says that if they act as bait, she is willing to pay. However, their party didn't have such a large sum on them right now. Paume replies, that's not a problem. He'll collect the amount when they get out of the gate, and if they were not able to make it out, then they will just become sacrifices. However, Paume puts a condition that everyone present here should agree to the proposition, and gives them time to decide to what they'll do. The scene shifts to where the escape gate is. Next to the gate, Matty was devouring the bodies of unlucky Dolan's group. Suddenly a fire arrow came flying towards Matty, hitting directly at its face. Immediately after the strike, Matty's body reflexively emitted poisonous smoke enveloping the surrounding area. Paume and Debo appeared nearby wearing a face mask. Paume reminds Debo that they'll move when the boss notices them. Before they can converse further, the monster's red eyes menacingly gazes at them from the smoke. In an instant it charges towards them. Debo asks anxiously why Matty is so fast. As Matty was about to catch up, they both start running to lure it away. Simultaneously, the rest of the group hurried towards the escape gate. The woman urged to activate the portal, and one of the members activate the portal by touching the pillar, while the rest of the party escaped through it. However, the monster was relentlessly pursuing Debo and Paume. Suddenly a pack of small mushroom monsters attack them from front. Debo finds it annoying and shouts if he looks that easy to the monsters. He swung around his polearm covered in aura and unleashed an attack called /blust, killing all the mushroom monsters at once. While he was distracted by small mushrooms, Maddie jumps at Debo to take a bite out of him. But Paume quickly casts Fire Arrow, saving Debo from the onslaught. Although the monster was struck directly, it took little to no damage, but it becomes more furious. Paume shots another Fire Arrow at Maddie, but he dodges it this time. Paume then uses telekinesis to control the Fire Arrow and directs it towards Maddie. The boss, enraged, continues to chase them, dodging and ducking all of the Fire Arrows cast by Paume. Debo, anxious, warns Paume that the monster is catching up to them. Paume notices a gap between the mountains and asks Debo to jump into the gap. The monster attempts to attack them, but was unable to do so. While falling, Debo taunted Maddie by flipping the bird at him, and Paume casts another Fire Arrow, striking Maddie and causing a big explosion. They narrowly escape Maddie's clutches by falling into the flowing river. After some time, they finally reach the shore. Debo, while panting, curses Maddie. Because he almost died, he asks, "Just what is that thing?" Paume replies, "Didn't you hear? He was the boss of this place, and it looks like they need to prepare better if they want to kill it." Debo was baffled at Paume's intention. He sarcastically says that Paume is talking like, as if we are really going to kill that thing. Paume confirms that he heard it correctly. Infuriated, Debo says, "Are you kidding me?" Debo thinks to himself that since they have done their role as bait, shouldn't they escape? How are they going to defeat it if none of the attacks are working on Maddie? Paume says, since the competition is all gone, it's like a free meal, and they are getting a bonus on top of that. Paume questions Debo's hesitation, asking if he is going to violate their contract. Debo hesitated a little, then he says that he was not thinking about that, but he should get a bonus for doing this. Paume smiles and assures him. Then Debo asks Paume, how are they going to kill Maddie, as melee and ranged attack don't even work on him? He questioningly asks that if there is even a way to kill that thing. Paume remained composed while looking at Debo. The scene shifts to rest of the party members who are coming out of the gate. Abby says it's a 40-man gate. Isn't it too quick for them to come out? Abby asks the lady, how did the gate go, and it seems like few of them are missing. The lady replies that they failed to clear it. While panting, she says that Dolan's party was wiped out and Paume is still inside, and they were only able to escape because Paume's party has acted as a he bait for them. She says that the boss of this gate is impossible for them to take out alone. Abby stands silent for a while. He couldn't control his anger and demanded an explanation, as they did nothing and just ran with their tails between their legs. The lady replies that the boss was infamous mad poisonous mushroom, and there was nothing they could do. Abby throws his cigar in anger, and then turns away, instructing all the adventurers to head back. She requests Abby to wait. She says that Paume is still inside, and seeing that the gate is active, they must still be alive. Abby's coldly responded that they won't survive, it is only a matter of time. He says that, didn't she herself said that the boss is mad poisonous mushroom? If they want to wait, they can wait for themselves. He don't have time for this. After saying this, he walks away. Abby thinks to himself and calls them useless bastards. He says that they were just unlucky. A two-circle killing Maddie is impossible, and that is a given. And he don't want average adventurers like that. What he wants is the type who can overcome such things. Returning inside the gate, Maddie is still relentlessly trying to search for Paume and Debo, continuously emitting poisonous smoke wherever it goes. We see Paume standing on a high cliff, casting Fire Arrow while pointing it in the direction of Maddie. With a determined look, he is ready to face Maddie, and he says, let the hunt begin. Immediately after this declaration, Paume launches the Fire Arrow at Maddie from a very long distance. Paume explains that Maddie is faster and sturdier than the ones they had faced before, and its poisonous smoke makes it a pain in the ass. It's better to keep their distance and attack with an overwhelming ranged attack. However, at his current level, he is not able to achieve that level with the Fire Arrow he currently conjures. He uses telekinesis to spin and rotate the Fire Arrow at a very high speed, which will drastically increase its piercing power. And this is something only Paume can do in the Maple world. It's something he came up when he thought of a bullet, a skill that makes impossible possible. Paume named the spinning Fire Arrow skill as Revolver. It reaches Maddie with lightning speed, and by the time he was able to notice it, the revolver already hit him in the chest. With accumulated speed and power, it continues drilling in Maddie's chest, penetrating the chest of Mushroom Boss. It screams in agony. Paume says that he was aiming for the head, but he slightly missed it. This has become more troublesome, because Maddie pinpoints Paume's location and starts running towards him. Meanwhile, Paume had already prepared another revolver. He fired it at Maddie, but unfortunately it misses. Paume remarks that it's hard to hit Maddie while he is moving, and the main problem is its cooldown. Paume says that he have to defeat it before Maddie can get up to him, and fires another revolver, but it also misses. Debo took cover beside a tree nearby. As the boss closed in, Paume signaled Debo to do it now. Debo shouts as he pulls the rope tight. Maddie, unveiled to see the rope, falls into their trap. It stumbled upon the rope, falling into the pool of mud. It tries to stood up from the slippery mess. Paume stood on top of the cliff, confirming the execution of the plan. Maddie, enraged, looks up to Paume helplessly. At the same time, Debo's polearm, enveloped in his aura, came flying at Maddie and struck at his face, causing a significant damage. Debo pulls back his polearm with the help of the rope. Maddie tries to release the toxic smoke, but the spore get blocked due to the mud filling in them. Facing Maddie, Debo smirked confidently and taunted it to attack him. Paume stood looking down at the monster. He says that condition have been met, as the objective of this trap was to nullify the monster's strength, and they succeeded in doing so as Maddie's spores gets clogged due to the mud. Debo with a determined look taunts Maddie, and then swung around his polearm tied from the rope, enveloped in the aura, and it directly hits Maddie, causing him to bleed. Then Debo unleashed an onslaught on Maddie, giving him a significant amount of damage. Maddie then parries one of the attack and rushes to attack Debo, but he noticed that he is stuck in the mud, because the muddy swamp is the worst place for fast monsters like Maddie. Paume fires another revolver, striking directly at Maddie. The revolver with a high speed damages Maddie and he gets shoved into the swamp. Debo wonders if it is dead, but its shadow is visible through the smoke. Debo curses because Maddie is so sturdy. Then Paume shouts, instructing Debo to aim for Maddie's head, as its core must be near it. Debo swings his polearm while replying that he already know where the core is. As the polearm reaches in the range of Maddie, he catches it and pulls the rope, swinging Debo along with it. Paume uses telekinesis, aiming a tree trunk at Maddie. While the trunk hits Maddie in his face, Debo holds onto the trunk and swings around, kicking Maddie and then landing far away from it. With a determined look, Debo leaps off again to attack Maddie. He runs around to distract it, and Paume uses telekinesis, causing the swamp water to rise, blocking Maddie's field of vision. Maddie, unable to see clearly, tries to attack Debo's shadow camouflaged in swamp water, but then it is revealed that Debo is not there. Debo comes from behind, swinging his polearm enveloped in aura, slicing off Maddie's head from its body. Its body remained in standing position, while its head fall into the swamp. Debo, while panting, gives Paume sign of victory. Paume smiles at Debo's performance. But to Paume's dismay, Maddie comes behind Debo, striking directly at his head, shoving him into the swamp. Maddie screeches horribly. Paume, still in disbelief, casts a fire arrow aiming at Maddie. But Maddie dodges it, and quickly starts running towards Paume. Paume wonders if he missed something. He uses telekinesis and lifts Maddie up in the air in hope to make him fall to the ground. But to his surprise, Maddie lunges and hangs onto the cliff, climbing up to Paume. Paume worries because he only has enough mana for one attack and there is no nest time. Debo, while cursing, rises from the swamp. With a bloody face, he says that Maddie is pissing him off. He unleashes his attack /blust at Maddie, cutting its lower half of the body. Debo laughs and says take that, but to his surprise, Maddie continues climbing up to Paume. Debo shouts to Paume that it's dangerous, while Paume casts another fire arrow, but Maddie dodges the attack. And then we see that inside Maddie's body there is another creepy monster screeching horribly. Paume, with a calm demeanor, while holding the flare gun, asks if that black thing is its real head. Debo was surprised, as the last attack was a bluff attack shot by the flare gun and not a fire arrow. Then Paume readies his staff, casting another revolver, striking directly at Maddie. As Maddie screeches, the revolver pierces its real head, and it falls onto the ground with a loud crash. The poisonous smoke starts enveloping the surrounding area. Debo curses while saying that Maddie is being a pain till the end. Controlling the rope with telekinesis, Paume pulls Debo away from the toxic smoke. Upon reaching on top of the cliff, Debo sighs out of relief, and then they both look down as the smoke spreads in the area. Debo asks if Maddie is really dead. Paume replies in affirmative. And then he praises Debo for his hard work. While he was instructing Debo to grab Maddie's mana stone, a figure jumps off to the sky. Paume gets shocked upon seeing it, and we see that Maddie is in the air releasing the smoke, having several holes in his body. As Paume and Debo looks up, its mana stone begins to shine brightly. Debo starts smiling like a madman, and my honest reaction to Maddie was,
I don't believe this! Asampav!
The scene shifts to where Abby's and Rakan are. Rakan laughs and asks if Abby's just came back just like that. He says that Abby's temper is same as ever. Abby's nervously sweating, apologizes for the matter. He says that they should let Cygnus Knights, but he gets interrupted by a knock on the door. Abby shouts and says that he asked not to be disturbed. But the person swung open the door while saying I'm coming in. Upon seeing the person, Abby's remained speechless. We see that the person who entered is none other than Paume, covered in dirt and monster blood. He says I'm back. Rakan laughs cunningly and says that this is getting interesting.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon.